At this time, we're joined by the head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, Mike Woodson. Coach, if you'd like to start just with a statement.
The only statement I got is I'm thrilled to death to be back in the big dance. And the 17 guys that have worn this uniform this season has had a lot to do with that. The fact that they gave me an opportunity to coach them and stay on board means a great deal to me from a coaching standpoint. But like I told them, when we sat in Assembly Hall yesterday and got the message that we were going to the big dance, it was great to celebrate, but the celebration is behind us. We got to look forward, and I thought we had a pretty good practice today to start preparing for Wyoming.
Back of the room.
Marco, University of Dayton. Coach, you were a former student athlete at IU, led your team to the Sweet 16. What does it mean to you now that you're able to coach this team?
No, it means a great deal. I mean, when Scott Dawson, our AD, called and asked to speak to me when I was in New York as an assistant with the Knicks, I was thrilled to death. He flew into New York, sat down with me, and he and I had a great 2.5, 3 hour meeting, and one thing led to another. A couple weeks later, I was offered the job. And for me, it's like a dream come true. You know, I've been in basketball a long time. I wore a number of hats as a player, as a head coach, as an assistant coach. But to be able to come back and coach your alma mater, a place where, you know, where the university was really good to me as a player when I played for Coach Knight. And I think I played for probably the greatest college coach that's ever graced the floor, in Bob Knight. It's like a dream come true, so it's good to be back.
Let's go to the third row.
Michael Presti, NCAA.com. What do you remember about your experience in the NCAA tournament as a player?
It's a grind. You know, preparation is so important. And, you know, yeah, it's exciting times, but everybody wants to win, man. Nobody wants to go home. And that's why it's so competitive. That's why when March Madness rolls around, you see all these great games, and you just walk away shaking your head saying, wow, that was a hell of a game. It's just different, you know. Playing for a Big Ten title, it's different. The play is so intense, and that's how it should be. You know, it's like NBA playoff. You know, the level of play just goes to a different level.
First row in the middle.
Tyler Tashman with Inside the Hall. Coach, you've known Race and Trace now for almost a year. What is your favorite part about coaching them, and what particularly do they do that embodies what you want this program to be about?
Well, you know, when I took the job over and Trace allowed me to coach him, I told him in front of his parents that I'm not an easy coach, you know, I mean, and I'm going to challenge you and push you. And if you allow me to do that, I think you will grow as a player. And he's done that. He's allowed me to actually coach and push him. And I know there's days he walks out of that gym, you know, pissed at me. But hey, at the end of the day, it's just coaching, man. You know, long as he knows that I love him and I'm in his corner, that means more to me than anything. Race has been a tremendous player this year for this team, man. I mean, when I took this job, you know, I was picking the coaches that were here about who can do this and who can do that, and you know, I had done some of my own due diligence on watching film, and the one thing that came out of my coach's mouth that had been here, well, I don't know if you want this guy to handle the ball that much, and he's a good player. He's going to work hard, and I told our guys it's our job to get him where he's comfortable in handling the basketball, and it's our job to get him comfortable in shooting threes. He's had all the other intangible parts going for him, and he's added that to his game this year, man, and it's been a treat to see him develop, man. It's been nice. And we've all benefited from it as a team, I think.
First row near side.
Mike, Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. Going back to your relationship with Trace, you've been a Big Ten MVP. You've been, I imagine, what some people would describe the face of this program. That's kind of where he is now. How have you seen him navigate that, handle the pressure, the expectation, the attention, all those different kinds of things?
It's been a roller coaster ride for him. You know, I mean, I've watched him, you know, really as a month ago. You know, it was so intense you could see it in his face, you know. You know, I mean, if these guys would stay the hell away from social media, you know, life might be a little bit better, you know. No, really. But, you know, he's dealing with the fact that he's a guy who could possibly go to the NBA. You know, he could possibly be an All-American. All these things are going through this young man's mind. Can you win the Big Ten? You know, can you win a couple of games in the Big Ten tournament? I mean, there's a lot of things that are at stake, and I get it. You know, it's a part of playing this game. And my whole thing to him is, hey, you can't wear it. You got to cherish the moment and still grind and work. I mean, you can't run from it. And I thought he stepped up big time, man, in the Big Ten tournament. I mean, he took it to another level, which was kind of nice to see.
Second row in the middle.
Hey, Coach. Chris Hagan, Fox 59, Indianapolis. Congratulations for making the tourney. Sometimes, you know, a team's identity at the very start of the season, sometimes it evolves and changes. As we sit here right now, what is the identity of this team as you go into the tourney?
Defense has always been our identity, you know, and I made that very clear when I took the job, that we had to establish a defensive system because offensively I just didn't know where it was going to come from. And I knew if we did that, we would put ourselves in a tremendous position to win games. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of games down the stretch, and you know, I take blame for a lot of that because these young guys, they're still learning and trying to figure me out, and I get it. But defense is where we've been good in terms of being able to compete all year, and as we go into this tournament, we're going to have to stay at that level because I've always felt defense win titles. I mean, it gives you an opportunity to. I look at it that way.
Second row near side.
Yeah, Kevin Brockway, CNH. Coach, you've coached a number of NBA playoff series. I guess this would be like a Game 7 or an elimination game. Anyone you reach out to in the college world for advice or anything that you could draw from that in terms of maybe your approach in your first NCAA tournament game?
No, I mean, I got calls from Coach Calipari and Larry Brown, who's, you know, two of my closest friends, you know, that wish me well. But they don't need to give me, you know, at the end of the day, man, I've coached enough basketball and been around it a long time, man. It's about getting these guys pumped and ready to go, man, and sustaining it over a 40-minute ball game. That's what it's going to be about.
First row.
Sports Illustrated Indiana. Mike, we haven't had a chance to talk much about your interaction with your three assistant coaches a whole lot this year, but what from those three guys have you gained and learned across the course of this season as well in regards to working so well together as a staff?
Well, again, I mean, they all been in the college game, and I've spent all my life in the NBA game, but I've always believed coaching is coaching. I don't care what level you coach at. But they have helped me navigate through this college season, from recruiting, you know, the things I can do from recruiting. I mean, they've helped me so much. I mean, things I can say and not, you know, do and not do. I mean, it's a lot of little things when it comes to the NCAA that, you got to be careful of. And, when I took the compliance test, man, I mean, it's tricky. It's, it's a lot of things that I shake my head and say, okay, wow. But no, they've been able to help me. They've been great in terms of practice plans and helping me. At the end of the day, we all get together and we come up with a plan, and I make the final decision on, how we're gonna go into that game and play it. And live or die, they're gonna have to roll with me, and it's pretty much been a learning curve for them too. Trying to get to know my style and what I'm about from a coaching standpoint, and I like to think that I've helped them in that area grow a little bit as coaches. I always believed as a head coach, you work with your assistant coaches to put them in position one day that they might be a head coach. That's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Let's go to the second row here, far side.
Hey, Coach. Jeff Rabjohn, Speaks.com. What was Jordan Geronimo able to do in practice today, and do you anticipate him being able to play tomorrow?
I think he's going to play. He worked a little bit today in practice, so we'll see how it goes. I'll get a better feel when he wakes up in the morning and see where he is.
Let's go second row, near side.
Yeah, Coach Mike Schhuman with the Daily Hoosier. There's a lot of talk about, as the season grinds on, some coaches like to keep players off their feet a little bit, not practice as hard as they did. What's your philosophy on that, and how has the last week with so many games impacted your approach?
Well, I'm still learning. We haven't grinded as much based on all the games that have been coming at us, but I still always try to get conditioning in. I think that's, our conditioning is fun and it's with the basketball, so that's every day. But the banging and going up and down, we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit based on the fact that we've had so many injuries, people don't mention it, we lost Galloway for 14 games, man, and Rob for 10 games, I think it is. And when we started this journey, they were a major piece to the puzzle. And, I like to think if I'd had them all the way through, man, things would have been a little bit different. But that's a part of basketball. But it's good that we got them back now.
Let's go second row, far side.
Mike Pegram from Peaks.com. Coach, what have you learned about Wyoming at this point, and what concerns you about them?
Very, very well coached, big team. Used to start a 6'7", 6'6", 6'7" point guard. That should tell you a lot. Hunter is as good as they come at the point guard spot. They got a big presence inside with Ike, and then they got perimeter guys and Xavier and Drake and Odin, guys that can make shots. So they well balanced, and you don't win 25 games not being well balanced. So, we got to commit for 40 minutes. It's kind of how I look at it. On both ends of the floor, compete, man, in order to come out of here with a win.
Let's go second row in the middle.
Dustin DePierre, Bloomington Herald-Times. Trace mentioned when we were talking to him that he had basically come to you recently and approached you about running more pick and roll, basically, that he thought that was something that was going to work. When did that conversation happen? How did he approach you? And do you like, I guess, your players coming with that kind of input to game plans?
No, I think it's great. I'm always open. I've always had an open-door policy with our players. If you go back and look at the beginning of our season and probably midway through our season, we tried to run a lot of pick and rolls, but X wasn't there yet at the time. And X has grown so much that has allowed me to play what I came here as a coach to play offenses, play some good pick and roll along with post-up. It's got to be a balance and a mixture. And we struggled in the pick and roll early on in the season. And I just kept, piecing it in here and there, and now X he's grown. He's figured it out. And when I say figure it out, he's figured it out to a point where he knows when he's got it, he knows when he doesn't have it, he knows when the lob or the pocket pass is there, or the throwback. All of that takes time, and he's starting to figure it out. That's why you're starting to see more pick and roll play.
Just a few more questions here for Coach Woodson. We'll go first row in the middle.
Gracie Barra inside the hall. Trace talked about fatigue not being an issue, and you talked about conditioning. But when you're playing 4 games in the span of 6 days, how do you mentally prepare your team for that kind of schedule?
It's what it is. Really. You can't run from it. You guys as media, you put it out there with maybe fatigue. Guys, you got 4 games in 4 days. Hey, this is what you signed up for. And again, I say it, these guys are 19, 18, 20-year-old young men. They'll be just fine. You just got to go play.
Second row in the middle.
Coach, Chris Hagan again, Fox Indianapolis. I'm sure it's different in the college game than the pro game, but we see so many runs this time of year that can determine a game. Do you have a formula about how to end a run, or maybe take a timeout, letting guys play through it, or is it just kind of a gut feeling?
Well, college game, you don't have enough timeouts to me. The NBA, we got a lot of timeouts to kill runs. I've gone through this season, man, and I can't remember. It was a game, I think, on the road where somebody might have been Minnesota, and everybody was barking about, call timeout, kill the run. Well, sometimes as coaches, I want to see who's going to step up and kill the run themselves for our team. And Minnesota, we were able to do that, without me burning all the timeouts. My coaches always tell me I got to have at least 1 or 2 at the end. And, all the time I've coached in the NBA, I've only used my timeouts, all of them, 1 time. And so sometimes you got to put it in the players' hands and feel good about it. And then sometimes you got to, make the move to call the timeout to kill the run.
Last question here in the front row in the middle.
Tyler Tashman with Inside the Hall. Coach, you've mentioned a couple of times this season just about not only wanting to create great basketball players, but also turn them into men and people that are going to go out in the world and society. Why is that something that's important to you?
Because a guy by the name of Bob Knight did that for me. And I owe it to these young men to do the same thing. Basketball is such a short-lived career in terms of dribbling the ball up and down the floor. These young guys don't know that right now. They think that it's something that's going to last the rest of their life. But there's going to come a time when you can't do it anymore. And that time comes very quickly. It's not a lot of LeBrons and Kareem Abdul-Jabbars that have played 19 and 20 years in the league. It just doesn't happen if you're fortunate enough to get there. So, you got to rely on your education, which is first and foremost with me, and then basketball is secondary. And if you're fortunate enough to move on, great. If not, it's my job to try to see that you go out in the workforce and figure it out, if I can help you in that area.
Coach Woodson, thank you so much for your time. Good luck tomorrow night.
Thank you.